We're discussing finding humor in everyday situations. My longtime secretary, Tony Meredith, has worked for me over 20 years. Actually, her title is not secretary, her title is National Coordinator. That's what she calls herself. One day she came in and said, I want to be an international coordinator. Look, I've booked you in California. If Tony speaks, I listen. And one day she came in and she said, I want to talk to you. Sit down. You got to hear it from a friend. You don't look good. Something's wrong with your clothes. You're tugging at those pantyhose every time. I said, you're barely over 5 feet tall. Don't start talking to me about it. She said, I'm telling you, you're pulling at the pantyhose, and when you speak, sometimes you look like a rumpled sheet. I said, what do you mean? She said, your blouse is coming out. And what I'm trying to tell you, too, is you wear your clothes too long. You wear them till they wear out. It doesn't matter about being in style. You just keep your things too long. I think you need to hire somebody to help you. She said, we hire somebody to do everything else, computers, videos, whatever. Let's get this done. So I hired a lady named Jane Tucker. She came down here from New York City. She came down here and she said, what's your problem? I said, I'll tell you exactly what my problem is in a nutshell. Number one, I can't keep my pantyhose up. Number two, my blouse is always coming out, nothing's right. Number three, some of my high school clothes are getting a little tight. She said, well, I'm going to help you with number three, but that's going to take a while, but I can solve number one and number two for you right now. When you wear a suit, Jeannie, you need to start speaking in a bodysuit under it. I said, a bodysuit? Is that thing that you see like the gymnasts wear at the Olympics, elastic and tight? Just telling you about it makes me kind of bend over here like this. I said, I don't think that they make bodysuits for 6'2" women. She said, oh, yes, they do. They snap between your legs. I said, well, that's the problem. Those snaps aren't going to hold. She said, I'll have you know those snaps will hold an elephant to a tree. I said, no, it doesn't seem like to me that that's going to work on me, Jane. I can see where it would not come out and it would hold up but I just don't. She said, well, if there is a problem, we will buy a 4-inch extension. You can get them, and they have those same elephant strength snaps on either end, and it gives you a little more room. Well, I was paying for help, so why would you ignore the advice? I bought a black bodysuit. And it came in late one afternoon, just as Left Brain and I were leaving, to drive to Asheville for me to speak the next morning. I just threw it in the suitcase. The next day I got up and he stayed in the bed, had the covers up over his head. And I pulled this thing out of the sack. And it looked like a large headband. I put the snaps that will hold an elephant to a tree on the floor, and I stood on them. And I pulled it, stretching it as far as I could, and I did this a lot of times trying to go, and I put it on. It came to right here. So I looked over there. He's still sound asleep. I took it off, got out my 4-inch extension piece, snapped those elephant streak snaps in place, and put it back on, and now I've got to proceed to reach through here and snap these snaps in place. This is not an easy task. You don't know which way to go at it. And I was trying, and all of a sudden I found myself going in a circle. And all of a sudden, again, from under the cover, Left Brain says, you're going to slingshot yourself into the wall. I said, get out of the bed and get on the floor and help me get in this thing. So he got on the floor and he started pulling and tugging, and the first thing he said was, these snaps aren't going to hold. I said, these snaps will hold an elephant to a tree. And right there is where his left brain kicked in on him. He looked up from the floor and said, why would you want to do that? You know, we don't even know anybody who owns an elephant. I said, just get the snaps done finally. And finally he got them in place, and I said, all right, now work me over to the television. And we got over there, and I'm going to be honest with you, I had a hot flash. Or, as we say in the South, a little personal summer. Now, see, the men don't understand this, but the women do. You don't just stand up in something like this. You have to work your way up. We're born knowing how to do this. You slide into it. You come here, and you come back, and you finally work your way up. I said, all right, turn me toward the door. I'm going down and make my speech, and as I was leaving, I heard left brain say, I'm coming down and sitting in the back. I got to see this. I remember this speech so well because a lot of people wrote on their evaluations, the speaker had such good posture. From the second they introduced me, I was in a personal battle with that bodysuit. It would just pull at me. I'd be walking along, just... People in the audience started reacting. But I was winning. I could control it. And about halfway in the speech, the pantyhose jumped into the fight. So one would go this way and one would go the other way. And people, I don't want to even know what they wrote on the evaluation. But I still felt like I mastered the whole thing. I got over, and it was a setup about like this. I was a little bit higher, and I bent over just to say something to one man. He was just, right up behind me. His eyes got this big, he just jumped back. And now I had a problem. Because I knew I had to stand up. And I also knew that the correct woman's way to stand up, sliding into it, would not work on stage. I had to do it in one fell swoop. So I inhaled, and all of a sudden I just stood up. And those snaps that will hold an elephant to a tree broke loose. And the thing came sliding across my stomach and went up and knocked me in the face. And when the laughter died down, I looked down, and that extension was waving at my audience. All of a sudden, in the back of the room, left brain stands up and starts going. Later I said, Jerry, what were you doing? He said, I was trying to tell you, the snaps didn't hold.